Yeah, what's happening? We about to bring that action. Gotta hold it down for my Seattle Kraken. Hey, we going beneath the waves. We going beneath the waves. Get it hype, step onto the ice. Ready for some action. Release the Kraken. Hey, we going beneath the waves. Going beneath the waves.
What's up, everyone? Welcome into the Beneath the Waves podcast, your weekly recap of all things Seattle hockey and beyond. I'm Matt.
Oh, I'm Alex.
And I'm Derek.
Oh, God, it's already starting. It's episode 62 now of the BTW pod, the Brandon Montour episode 62. On today's episode, we're going to catch up on the last week of games. We're going to talk about the Seattle Kraken season essentially being over, and we're going to check in on all of the Kraken news. But as always, we got to open with some hype for BTW's Heather, who put out another fantastic article covering the Seattle Torrent for the hockey news. This article was about an availability that she had with GM Megan Turner. In that article, they talked about lots of things, including the Teresa Shefsall trade and how that came together, the Gabrielle David signing, as well as end of season plans that the team has. So make sure you go and check out the link in our show notes to see that article and all the things that were in there. That season is starting to wind down here, so there'll be lots more news coming out here soon. On the Torrent front, there was only one game last week, and it was the big Madison Square Garden game. It was a 3-2 shootout loss. It was an absolutely electric game to follow along with. The Seattle Torrent, for the third time this season, broke the U.S. attendance record for a pro women's hockey game at 18,006 fans. While they did lose the game, they are still not mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, but with only one playoff spot remaining, that time should come very soon, and then we activate that gold plan and start hammering all the wins that we've been slacking on. The logjam in the middle is absolutely crazy for the standings, and the Torrent could really benefit with 3 games remaining here, because it could come right down to the line of the likes of Ottawa and Toronto, and I'm blanking on the third team that is New York, who's kind of contending for that spot too. Then you have Seattle way down at the bottom, and Vancouver just a little bit above them. So we can hopefully get that gold plan rolling soon. It was announced at the game that Caroline Harvey declared that she is going to be draft eligible. She said that at this weekend's MSG game. So let's get ourselves a star. Let's go out and get a high producing goal scorer, that Olympic standout that was there. As well, it came out this weekend that expansion news should be coming very soon, so we'll look forward to that. It was around end of April last year that we found out about Seattle and Vancouver, so I'm sure it'll be around that time as well. Did you guys catch any of the Torrent action this weekend?
Yeah, I did. I watched a little bit of their game before the Kraken game on Saturday, while at the Kraken game, and I think they had just waved off a Hillary Knight goal because of some BS. Oh, no, it was because there was a fight going on.
There was a 4-person fight happening at one end.
And they blew the whistle right as Hillary Knight shot it. And it's of course you do. And it's do these refs not realize that the Torrent need to get some goals, man? Come on, this team never scores. They're just the Kraken. But no, I mean it's pretty good, that logjam that you're talking about, because I genuinely think the Torrent are probably going to be the only team that is able to even play gold plan games at this point, just with how contested that 4th spot is.
Yeah, it might actually be beneficial with how the standings are going right now. Yeah, I watched some of the game of this week. But yeah, just kind of like Derek said, just shows you how unlucky they've been all season long. They just can't catch a break here and there. But hopefully with this gold plan, hopefully sooner rather than later, we can get this all sorted out and make a plan to get that sorted out, so we have the best chance to get that first overall pick.
If you want a shining example of can't catch a break, go and at least watch the shootout that happened at the game, because shootout star and BTW favorite Anna Wilgren had another stellar, nearly highlight reel goal where she pulled off a Forsberg-esque move, but it just clipped Kaylee Osborne's toe and was pirouette spinning on the goal line and didn't cross, and it would have just been absolute highlight reel mania. But the hockey gods blew the wind in the other direction, and it did not go across the line. So we'll check in with the Torrent schedule later on in the pod. It is exciting times. Make sure you follow along with the team. Alex, for maybe like the last time this season, really, unless we put a nail in the coffin next week, let's money puck around and find out.
Do we have to?
Yep.
Damn it.
Committed to this bit.
Yeah, unfortunately, we have committed to this bit. So we're going to talk about what MoneyPuck has for the Seattle Kraken before we got absolutely steamrolled by the Winnipeg Jets tonight. So they were going into the game with a 0.6% chance to secure a playoff spot. You heard me, 0.6% chance. Basically, about a month ago, this team had about a 70+% chance to secure a playoff spot. So how the mighty, and when I talk about mighty, I'm not talking about the Seattle Kraken because they are a feeble, pathetic excuse of an NHL franchise. Probably after this game, we're probably looking at like a 0.00185729966666 with that line above it. Like that's what we're looking at now. Like there's still a chance mathematically, but sweet Jesus, we are dead and dusted. We're dead on the road. It ain't happening. Yeah. Hey, at least we brought it all the way to March. That's a positive. Haven't been out since Christmas. But there's a positive here.
Wait, it's April, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So yeah, even better. Look at that, Derek. Just bringing great news to the pod on such a depressing episode. But
Hey,
the other positive news is that we have a 7.6% chance to secure the first overall pick. So that keeps climbing. So I don't know about you, but I am so pumped to draft another center. Derek, Matt, what are you guys both thinking right now?
yeah, I think it's like you said. I think after the loss today, I was looking at the preview, and I think it does go down to like a 0.1%. I think it depends. Did anyone else play today that we care about? I mean,
The Kings
I don't
and
even know
Sharks
why we're talking
play,
about this.
the
Winnipeg.
Preds play.
Well, I don't even know why I even asked that. It doesn't matter, right? So we're pretty much cooked, obviously. But I do think that first overall draft pick does rise from about 7.6% to like 8.2 or something. So it is climbing. I ran about 25 simulations of the draft lottery on tankathon.com. And the Kraken got the first overall pick like 3 times, but usually we got like the sixth or seventh. So yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, I
So,
opened the preview. We are at 8.2%
so
and make the playoffs 0.06.
So positive, Chicago's currently beating the Sharks. So, Blackhawks could technically catch up to us, which is beneficial to us.
Mhm.
That's really the only game that matters right now because the Predators and the Kings are ahead of us at this point, and like that game has nothing to like what we're doing right now.
Wait, Matt, so 600ths of 1% is the
Yes.
current odds? Okay, so that's cooked. Like that's the game over,
We're gonna
right?
round down. We're done.
Yeah, 0.0, we're rounding down.
I can't in good conscience as a math teacher.
You're not gonna round
Do
you're not gonna
that-
round
do
down over
that-
5?
that horrible rounding. No, but I am down for. I didn't even think of if Chicago were to win, that'd be good for us. So I'm gonna start instead of rooting for us to lose, because like I said a few weeks ago, my brain can't do that. I'm gonna root for teams below us to start winning so that we trade spots with them. So there's still gonna be good spirits somewhere trying to boost those other guys up. Derek, kick us off for this week and how we're feeling.
We have to.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, the record of the Seattle Kraken now is 32, 33, and 11. So we now have more regulation losses than regulation wins. Tack on another 11 non-regulation losses in overtime or shootout. We are currently 6 points back of the wild card 2 with 6 games left. And here's what happened this week. Game 73 was a 3-0 loss in Edmonton against the Oilers. Game 74 was a 6-2 loss at home against the Mammoth. Game 75 was a 4-2 loss against the team Matt was just talking about cheering for, the Chicago Blackhawks at home. And game 76 actually ended right before we started recording this pod, and it was a 6-2 loss at the Winnipeg Jets. I guess I'll kick us off with how I'm feeling. Obviously, near 0 out of 10 for this week. Obviously, I like there's just not a lot you can take away. If you want to flip it and be like, we're now going for the first overall pick, then it could be like a 10 out of 10 week if you want to be like, look at it that way. Um, but I mean, y'all, like, the season's cooked, right? I just wanted to say, with the season being cooked in our vibe check, just like, don't worry. We're here for you at BTW, and we're here for each other in this hour of darkness. There won't be any playoffs this year, but that's okay. As Matt has said, it's about the friends we make along the way. Look at that. A quick little rhyme scheme in the
And you
beginning
should
to
follow us at
Yep,
BTWSEA.
yep, there you go. Finishing it off. But no, I genuinely hope the Kraken just kind of like pack everything in, bench everyone who might lead them to winning a game, and just for the love of everything holy, I hope we lose enough games to keep us in the worst five in the league. I cannot stomach another season of missing the playoffs and not having a really high draft pick. That would be insane. Um, please, NHL, Gary Bettman, the hockey gods, please. We will do whatever you want in exchange for the first overall pick. Please, 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 please. Oh, how are you guys feeling?
Big fat old 0 out of 10. This team is just terrible. Regarding the discussion, the things that I want to bring up, there's going to be discussion topics we're going to talk about later, so I'm going to hold it to that. But realistically speaking, like, this team is just downright pathetic. There's no other way to really explain it. You had four crucial games where, you dictated the chance of you still securing a playoff spot going into this week. And each game was important 100 times each game. Like, each
Wait,
game was,
what were the odds last week?
I don't care really, to be honest, but we
Oh,
had
okay.
like 20% or whatever it was. But like,
Gotcha.
each one of these games was in the Western Conference, and what was it? One game was in your division, but all these teams were wild card teams or close to it. You didn't show up for any single one of these games. Like, defensively, offensively, you just didn't bother showing up. And my brain immediately goes to, this team isn't hungry, doesn't care. What's the point? And like I said, we're going to talk about it later, but it's hard for me to root for this team. I love this team. Like, I'm obsessed with this team. And I actually tweeted this. Like, I'm obsessed with this team and I want this team to do good, but dear God, it's hard to cheer for this organization because they keep doing the same thing over and over again. And that's literally the definition of insanity. Um, I'm not confident, regardless if we get a top 5 pick. I'm not confident with the management to make the appropriate pick. And that's why I'm a 0. Because even though we're down in the dumps and we're probably going to get a high pick, I hope, because Derek, as you mentioned, this team could easily finish the season with 6 wins and miss the playoffs by 4 points. And we get like the 9th overall pick. And then we're all fuming. Like, I hope to God we just find a way to suck. Like, full blown suck. I don't care.
We sure did this week, that's for sure. If you want to suck, we suck really bad this week.
Just keep replicating this week over and over again.
No, honestly, this
Like,
week over and over
seriously, because like, I swear, if we finish this season with like 4 wins and 2 overtime losses, I will literally just run my head into a brick wall. Like, because it will be like, I don't want to think about that. If we pull off like 10 points or 8 points, I'll be like, this is horrible. Like, we really do have the NHL and like those draft picks, like those draft odds in like the palm of our hand. Like, we can really just blow for the next 6 games, but it's the Seattle Kraken and we know how this team operates. So that's kind of where I'm at. We'll get into it further. Matt, what do you think? And what's your vibe on this?
I'm going to go at a nice 4. You know, I want to still strive to have some sort of positive silver lining outlook on this team. Um, it's probably just like the super green a baby hockey fan in me that's just excited to have something following along with. But, you know, I committed to ride or die with this team, so gonna be stuck with them. We can just hope for the best as we move on. Blowing the dust off of last week's notes, we had a 25.8% chance of playoffs, and Alex said if we made it, he would shave his head. So looks like you dodged that bullet there. I mean, there's not much hair left
I
there.
don't have
So.
much left, to be honest.
And we have doubled our first overall pick odds. We went from 3.8 to now 7.6. So
Hey, let's go. Come on.
right?
That's
So
positive, I guess.
if we, keep this up, maybe we get up to like 15.2 or whatever coming up here next week. And then we just keep growing and keep growing and keep growing. Looking at the draft kind of rankings, I just opened up NHL and TSN. In the top five, three of them are defensemen who are pretty big and tough. And, we have a pretty big and sometimes tough defenseman who is probably on their way out. So if we can get some young guy in there, look at like Schaefer popping off this season coming in. So it's not always just, make or break. We gotta go for Gavin McKenna or bust. We can maybe squeak someone out along here. Number 6 ranks is a guy called Daxon Rudolph. That is a hockey ass name if I ever heard it.
Oh yeah, that's the toughest name I've ever heard. I'd instantly get a jersey. Wait, his last name's Rudolph?
Rudolph.
Yeah.
That's so sick.
We're gonna go off the board and draft like a center that's actually like slated to be like the 20th overall pick.
All right. Well, get your negativity out of my vibe. It's my turn. Yeah, Lacey and I briefly talked about taking like a last minute road trip this week out to Winnipeg, a quick 6-hour rip to go watch the game, and I'm kind of glad that that didn't happen. Although I would have been like super psyched and euphoric at Jordan Eberle, my dude, scoring the first goal. I would have just been on cloud nine, and then I would just be like crying into a big bucket of popcorn or something, and I'd be a reaction gif on KHN. But hey, you know, whatever, my mark is in the hockey world, I will take that. So I'm not at a 0, but I'm not at a passing grade, but I'm still trying to find, those silver linings in there.
I can like unoffensively, but I can definitely tell that you're like you're more of like that newer hockey fan where you've watched hockey, but like you've really like joined in with the Kraken. Like for myself, I've been hurt in the past by different teams when it comes to hockey, so I'm like I don't have a soul anymore. So I'm like 0. But you're like
You're just
know,
Yeah,
you still have
get
you
your
still have
Maple
those
Leafs
positives.
trauma out of here.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
just hockey in general. Let's be serious here.
We got that
Yeah.
anchor tattoo for a reason, boys.
Hey.
That's where we're staying.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm glad you're a fan of the Kraken, Matt. Anyways, moving on. Are you guys ready to move on?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool. So a couple topics. We can start with the heavy one, okay? If you've been anywhere around Kraken social media or anything, you know that everyone right now is trying to, say what they would be doing, right? That's the natural thing that you do when your team is bad. You're like, oh, this is what we should be doing, okay? As you gentlemen know, this is the third straight season with no playoffs, okay? Basically, we're going to go through this, and I'm going to ask you what needs to change, okay? But the Kraken are finishing their third straight season, and they're pretty much guaranteed to miss the playoffs at this point. This would mean that they only made the postseason one time out of their first 5 seasons. I wanted to debrief the way... that's not how you say that word. I wanted to debrief the way the season turned out, but first I wanted to read a quote from Ron Francis, then GM, now president of hockey operations, from 2022 on the direction he foresaw for the Kraken, namely in comparison to the Vegas Golden Knights. He said, I remember reading someplace that Vegas felt going into their season that they had a 5-year plan to build it right. Then things changed when they started playing the way they played and they went in a different direction. But from day one for us, we want to make sure that we're building it right from the ground up so we can be a solid team when we get there. Meanwhile, we want to do everything we can to make sure we can get into the playoffs every year. This year, it hasn't gone the way we wanted to this point, but it's not for a lack of effort. So my question for you, fine gentlemen, is after a third straight season of roughly 75 points, what are your thoughts on the changes we should make? If you were GMJB, Jason Botterill, what would you do? Not just for these next 6 games, but also for this offseason. And I just wanted to note going into this that I don't know why I felt this was relevant, but I kind of feel like it is. We have 7 players on the Kraken who are 30 or older, 8 players who are 25 or younger, and then 8 players in that sweet spot of like 26 to 29 years old. And then also, just for reference, the Kraken are basically going to finish 11th this season in the NHL for goals against, which is insanely good. Obviously, that's in playoff range, but 27th in the NHL for goals for. So yeah, Alex, we want to start with you. Just how are you feeling, and what kind of changes do you think GMJB should be making, or that the Kraken should be making in general?
So if I'm being honest, if I'm ownership, you're changing the locks to the doors. Ron Francis out the door, and anybody that he's hired is out the door as well. I know that could sound a little rough, even with J-Bots and such, but I still think that J-Bots is under Ron Francis's, marionette, so to speak. He's just a puppet. Ron Francis is, in my version, is the Godfather, where everything still goes through him. This team, this team is rotten to its core. There is no identity, and I know we've discussed the fact about, does this team have an identity? This team does have an identity. It's to suck. There is no identity to this team. This team needs to properly rebuild. I'm not saying this team needs to do like a quick refresh or a retooling, so to speak. This team is just straight up bad. It was drafted poorly from the expansion draft under Ron Francis. Ron Francis has made poor decisions throughout his tenure as a general manager, and it has just continued to move in a negative direction since he's been promoted to Godfather. I don't even know really where to begin with this team, because I feel like right now you look at this lineup, and I sat down this weekend and I looked at the roster. And there's a lot of players I like, but I think at the same time you need to be, you need to turn I'm a fan of this player and I want this player to stay on my team forever off, and be like, okay, logically, what is the best route for this team moving forward? And quite frankly, I would trade a lot of these players on this team. I love Jared McCann, but Jared McCann needs to leave the Seattle Kraken. I love Shane Wright. Shane Wright, under this management and under this coaching staff, is going to plummet. Like we've seen, he needs to go. I love Matty Beniers. I think he could stay, because at this rate, you need someone. Jordan Eberle, keep him. But like a lot of the forward group and a lot of this defensive group, I think Vince Dunn should go. Like, there's a lot of players that I think just need to be out the door. Like, forget this. We'll pick a guy here, pick a guy here. Let's get rid of everybody, or a good portion of the group, and bring in the young players. And I'm okay with sucking, like really sucking for like 2 or 3 years, but let's do it right. Let's bring up a lot of young talent. Let's kind of mold our team into a young team that can develop together, but I'm just one person. And if I'm being honest, I'm not ownership. Ownership is caring about realistically one thing at this point, and it is season tickets. And they will do anything in their power to have as many season ticket holders re-up their contracts. And this offseason, they're going to throw the money at 1 or 2 players. And my concern is, and I know we're on board with this, around trade deadline, being like, just offer sheet Jason Robertson. That is something that I can see this team do. I can see this team trade for Jordan Kyrou and offer stupid compensation to get him. And I think all of this is bad. This team needs to really focus on the ground up, and that is getting rid of a lot of their talented players, so to speak, but getting quality assets back and drafting properly, getting those players and developing them properly. Stop sitting Shane Wright on the 3rd or 4th line and giving him 7 or 8 minutes when Chandler Stevenson is sitting there on the second line, when realistically he's not a second line center. And I'm just kind of going around in circles, but yeah, this team is just downright bad, and there's too many things for this team that needs to happen to even be moved in a right spot. And I don't think this management core from Ron Francis and any hiring that he has made can do this successfully. We've seen it too many times. And I'm just sick of hearing the same old song and dance from this management group. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Derek, you look like you're chomping at the bit to retort.
Oh, sure. I mean, I'll just kind of go through what I had prepared. So for me personally, I don't really think there are any like easy answers or like easy solutions to like getting better. I think if there were, we would see every single team when they go through things like the Kraken are going through, we would see them do it. I'm kind of appealing to that. Obviously, GMs do need to care about having fans, which I think is good. It is entertainment. So I think we should build teams that, fans would want to be fans of. So you keep the staple guys that are the team's guys, and I really am a fan of trying to make that work. I think you can maybe point to some moves that GM Jason Botterill did, or maybe lack of moves, right? That are bad, like the failure to trade anyone away when it was evident this team wasn't able to score all year. Trade the guys like Schwartz, Alexiak, etc. at the deadline because they're just gonna walk. But I don't think going forward there are really any easy answers. I think there might have to be some tough decisions, but I think the best way forward is probably to keep the core largely intact. So pretty much the opposite of what Alex just said. Maybe you let some of these UFAs walk, you trim the fat in these areas, so to speak. You continue to take small W's in trades to incrementally increase your team's capital and really hope that our seventh ranked prospect pool, which is amazing, by the way, that we have currently ranked, is able to shine through in the next couple of years. Slow, methodical, and maybe even a little bit boring. But I think this is the way. It almost hurts to go this route, this boring way, but I think this is the way. Sasquatch NHL, or Mike, if you know him, like we do on this pod, or maybe even if you don't know him, I don't know his preferences on what kind of name to call him. But anyway, the Squatch Mike made a post that I was absolutely thrilled to see. I'll read it out loud for you all right now. He said, I'm becoming kind of a reader on this pod. I love this. I love it's like story time every single pod now.
Get
I
your
love
blanket and curl
exactly. Yeah, just that's I don't know. Anyway, it's a Mike quote. You can't go wrong with a Mike quote. He said, "Yes, the Kraken are bad. Yes, changes need to be made. But in the last 32 years, only one modern NHL expansion team, which is Ottawa, made the playoffs in their fifth season. The Kraken are exceedingly boring and unfortunately extremely normal." So I'm kind of in the camp with Mike where it's like, yeah, it sucks, right? But this type of mediocrity is normal. It is the standard. And to get out of it, we haven't really ever seen a standard of just like completely blowing everything up. And I don't necessarily think that works. I'll get into that a little bit more later in the pod. But what about you, Matt? How are you feeling?
So I think kind of along Alex's lines and, general Kraken internet at large, the decision doesn't need to be made at GMJB level. It needs to be made at Todd Leiweke, Samantha Holloway level. I found this article earlier in the week from PacificNorthHockey.com. It was an article by Rob Simpson, and kind of the thesis statement of his article was success on the ice does not equal success in a suit, and kind of goes through laying out Ron Francis's, tenure going from a player to an executive. One of the things that highlights here says over 7 seasons in Carolina between 2011 and 2018 as the director of hockey operations and then the general manager, his team failed to make the playoffs for the duration. They weren't even close. And he goes into detailing some like not so great trades that didn't amount to anything and all that. And kind of the closing line of his article here says, even Wayne Gretzky, the legend of on ice legends, finally got the boot after 4 years as a lousy NHL head coach. Success in a jersey never guarantees success in a suit. So I think if the upper brass wants to, send shockwaves and through the fan base and show that they mean business, that's a head that has to roll. And if you look at hockey news today, the New Jersey Devils just canned Tom Fitzgerald, their GM and president of hockey operations. So maybe they say, hey, someone else made this kind of move and axed someone who got the job in January 2020, which would have been right around when Ron Francis got it, who signed an extension in January 24, which would have been around the time that Ron Francis signed his 3-year extension. I don't know how there's no cap friendly or cap puckpedia, whatever the heck's going on nowadays for executives. But when Francis signed his extension, it was for 3 seasons. So there's like 1 year left on his GM deal. I don't know if when he signed as president of Sticks and Skates or whatever, he got
Yeah.
a new term on that. But if things are coming to a close, that could be a natural exit. And we choose to future endeavor you in a tweet. Maybe like we unfortunately will have to suffer through one more year, but we could have an out. We could have. Again, I don't know the ins and outs of how upper managerial corporate structuring goes. But I would also think it could be nice for Sam Holloway to be like, see you later, Ron. We're axing you. We're going to get some fresh blood in here. We're going to get the fans hyped up. And then I'm going to go take all my attention over to trying to get the Sonics back to Seattle. And I'll think about the Kraken on the side. So I think it's super unfortunate that we were not sellers and they went all in on trying to crack the 16th ranked spot in the playoffs, because now we're going to have Alexiak Schwartz, who else is
Tolvanen?
a pending
He's
Tolvi,
an art. Yeah.
Tolvi, and probably someone else. I'm forgetting Bobby. I don't see why Bobby would want to re-sign unless we give him like a 8-figure paycheck or something like that for like $10 million or
I
something.
mean, he is acquiring points at like his highest rate with the Kraken, so maybe he's like,
He is.
things are just in NHL players can be pretty superstitious. Maybe he's just like, I throw on this tentacle in the S, and it's great.
Yeah. But I think kind of one of the biggest stings from this season will be having those guys walk and not at least having a draft pick collateral to move around. I mean, we still have a first. We have 2 firsts this draft still, I'm pretty sure. So
Yep.
We do.
maybe we can still maybe make something exciting happen. Maybe we can take one of those picks and trade our way up from like 4 to 2 to get someone a little
Oh
bit cooler.
heck yeah!
And then it's kind of, we'll see. Maybe there'll be some
Pretty
exciting.
big.
You know what? I'm just trying to manifest exciting things
For sure.
happening.
I think one of the things I just wanted to highlight what you said is that like ownership making that decision, but I don't know why. I don't have the belief that this ownership group has the stones to make a decision like that. Like this, they kind of seem like they just don't want to ruffle feathers and such. So like I would be quite shocked to see any news come out even before the end of the season or in the off season that that they're going to be making a change with Ron Francis. And with that, I definitely think that if a Ron Francis decision does come down where they do get rid of him, it's going to be a clean house. Because I think whoever comes in isn't going to keep Botterill as, general manager. I even think Lane Lambert becomes even someone that becomes a victim, which means we're going through another head coach. So I'm very interested to see if they do that, like it's going to be quite the statement, because one of my biggest things that I'm worried about is the Kraken have gone through head coaches like crazy. And if that's the case again, that'd be another head coach. So I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, 2 things. One, you said doo-doo, and that's hilarious. 2,
I didn't even realize.
bring some levity to the situation. I know people are like calling for Lane Lambert's head and being like, screw this guy, get him out of here. He hates young kids. We don't need him. Get rid of him. Like, I don't want to give him the Dan Bilesma treatment and send him to the guillotine after 82 games.
It's so tired.
Like, you're
I don't
coming
want
in.
another head coach.
You're coming in, you're starting fresh with the team, you're implementing systems that it'll be the 3rd set of systems for this team in 3 years. Let him get some footing under him. Let him build things up. And yeah, I just like, you can hate the guy, but give him a chance. Give him a chance.
Yeah, I also wanted to say, just to clarify my position a little bit, I was more so focusing on whoever is in the GMC, what they can do going forward. I don't think they should like scrap all the players, which I think is kind of along the lines of what Alex was saying. or at least scrap a lot of the players. I don't think they should do that. But in terms of like Ron Francis specifically, I don't think he's the greatest either. And I think that is pretty much a consensus take. So if the Kraken want to do what their fans would appreciate the most, and like I think Alex said, send it, or maybe it was Matt. I always forget who says what, but whoever said the thing about the shockwave going through the whole thing or whatever. Okay, that was Matt. Okay, anyway, the shockwave thing, I completely agree with. And then in terms of completely cleaning house, I want some semblance of stability. But yeah, I think getting rid of Ron Francis could be very beneficial psychologically for the players and the fans and whoever else is running the team. Just like, hey, we're done with this 5-year era. You know, it was great. It's not like we were put in a position as bad as like Vancouver is this year. If we were where Vancouver is this year, I'd be like, literally no one who touched this team this year should touch this team or any NHL team again in their life. No assistant coaches, video review coaches. I don't care. But that's not really where the Kraken were this year. We're more of just like a mediocre and bad, not like worst
We're like
of
a
all
mid
time.
team, like we've always
Yeah,
talked about.
exactly.
Derek
Yeah.
said before, like we've talked about this before, every year there's 16 teams that don't make the playoffs.
Exactly.
And I think John Barr from Sound of Hockey tweeted out today like this graphic, and it showed over X number of years what teams have made the playoffs, and it's basically like red dot means you made it, blank space means you didn't make it. And there are teams with huge freaking chunks of missing the playoffs, and we have missed it for 3 years now.
You know what
which
that
is
means? You know what that means?
that we have 15 more years of awfulness, and then we'll finally
Yep.
be on the other end.
It means if you are a fan of a pro sports team, or specifically an NHL team, or more specifically the Seattle Kraken, and you want to have a good time, you need to figure out a way to enjoy this team without the playoffs. Okay, it's not guaranteed.
Okay, this is Canadian football, so take that with a grain of salt. But my diehard team, the other tattooed team on my arm, my Saskatchewan Roughriders, there's been like 112 Grey Cups, our Super Bowls. Guess how many times they've won it?
Like, isn't it like
11?
3?
5. And 3 of those have been in my lifetime of 2007, 2013, and this year.
And imagine
So
you're only
that
happy when
means-
you win the championship.
And so like this year I was fucking flying on cloud 9. I felt so good. I am amped on this team. I'm like re-up my tickets. I'm so excited. But guess what? There was a ton of years when we didn't make the playoffs and it was miserable. But guess what? They were still my team. And I was still on board with my team. And I can guarantee you that for as many people who are saying, you know, bench the old guys, call up the rookies and have them play, there'll be an opposite reaction of people saying, why do we have these young guys playing? We still stink. We're still losing games.
Always.
Exactly.
You're not going to make everybody happy. So just like
Everyone wants the team to be better. Everyone wants the team to be
yeah.
better.
And there
Yes.
is no predetermined roadmap of how to make
Nope.
that happen.
And I think
That's the huge thing.
yeah.
Everyone thinks that if you just suffer enough, if you just suffer at maximum possible, then you're going to be rewarded later. Like it's some meritocracy. Dude, it's so random. It's so random. Suffering could mean that you're just suffering for like 15 years with zero core. Yeah.
Well, look at the Chicago Cubs. Like, how long did they have to endure before they
Exactly.
won another World
Exactly.
Series, right? But I think the one thing with, being a fan is like I more lean on the fact that like this team sucks, and I will be very like a lot of my takes on this team right now are negative. It's not that it's saying that I hate this team; it's that I want this team to succeed so badly. I'm pointing out everything that's bad about this team, but when they do something good, I'm like, damn right they did this. Like I'm fired up that they did this and that it is the smart thing to do. But I'm also going to criticize them, and I'm not afraid to criticize them because I'm obsessed with this team. And I think, like, and there's going to be people on the other side of this being like, man, you just criticize them about this and this and this. Why can't you just be positive about everything else? I'm like, you can be positive about everything you want to be, and you can criticize the things that you want to criticize. At the end of the day, we're both fans of the team that we both love. We just have different viewpoints of this team. All three of us want the Kraken to succeed. We might
Exactly.
just look at it differently.
So I just pulled up John Barr's graphic here, and so it has all the teams, and it goes back to 1991. And you look at teams like Florida, who had a 10 season stretch. Granted, they didn't do great this year, but they went back to back the last 2 years. That's exciting. You look at Buffalo, who had what, like 12 or 13 seasons not making playoffs, and now they're one of the best teams in the league. Like, things are gonna suck for 16 teams, but we just gotta hope along the line. We're gonna keep hoping that we crack that ceiling.
Exactly. Yep, 100%. And that seamlessly brings us to our second point of discussion here, which is that we are now coming to a close on the BTW Pod's second full season of coverage here. So this is the second, if for all those of you who don't know, this is the second full season of Beneath the Waves coverage. And I must say, with all of the negativity that Alex just alluded to going around out there, for these past 3 seasons, 3 of them of mediocre, playoff-less hockey, we sure have been able to have a lot of good times watching this team and joking through the slog of midness. Not to get ahead of an end-of-the-year review pod or a Thanksgiving pod or fake Canadian Thanksgiving pod, but in this hour of darkness for the Kraken, what are you grateful for? With this podcast, we're up to a heightened standard here. We're not just your, run of the mill ordinary fan with no responsibility here, right? We're running a legitimate podcast here. We have a duty. We have a duty to help both ourselves and everyone else get through these trying times as a fan base. How do we do that? Matt, what do you think?
So what question are you wanting me to answer first? What's the good thing, or how do we get through trying times?
It's up to you, of course.
Okay. Good things from this podcast that I am grateful for. First of all, happy Canadian Easter to you, Derek. I hope that you enjoyed it.
There's no way that's a thing.
No, that's not a thing.
Okay,
That falls on
good.
Monday.
I was going to be pissed.
I first of all have liked getting to know people on the internet who I have never and potentially will never cross paths with in real life, but I talk to on a daily basis, and I have built connections with and can talk about things beyond hockey. I have enjoyed having a platform to, despite having awful takes sometimes, have an audio based catalog of the things that I have been learning throughout this hockey journey, coming in from knowing that the round black thing goes in the red square thing at the start, to now being like having stupid, undiagnosed, encyclopedic knowledge of all things related to this team. I have loved coming up with stupid t-shirt designs that for some reason people keep buying. Speaking of, if you are listening and you have a background in graphic design, I have a design in my brain that is cooking that I want to hopefully, maybe commission someone in the community to help come up with, rather than just some guy on Fiverr, because I can't draw. And it's a pretty, I sent Derek the Snapchat drawn schematic of it, and it looks pretty sweet, but we need better than Snapchat illustrations. In terms of how to get through these trying times, what I think to myself is, at least I got a team to cheer for. We could be poor little guys down in Arizona who had a team, and then they shuttered their doors and put up an eviction notice. We could be some guy from Atlanta that's hoping for the 17th time a franchise comes back to that city. We got a team. I am pumped for this team. Like I said, I will ride or die for this team. And I may be upset with choices that are made, but I am a fan, not a like shadowy executive puppeteer pulling the strings behind the scene. I can't influence the things that are happening. I can try to. You can hire like the Etsy witch and try to get something going on. But I can just sit back. I can pay my disgusting $350 a year to Sportsnet and watch 82 games of hockey. 82 games that I get to spend watching this team. Although I will say on Thursday, instead of watching the hockey game, I went and saw Project Hail Mary. It was fantastic. I cried twice, and then I came home, and on the drive home, we got scored on two more times. So I cried once more on the drive home.
You
But
always, without fail, you always have a perfect
Yeah.
parallel connection with the movie. You always, it's seamless. It's always
Yeah.
seamless.
well,
And you just
uh,
you cried 3 times. You got a hat trick.
yeah, well, you know what? One of these years, we are going to be like Mario in the Mario Galaxy movie, which I saw on Sunday, and we are going to get
Oh my.
that power up star that is going to take us to first place on Rainbow
Oh,
Road. And in this case, Rainbow Road is the road to the Stanley Cup.
oh my. So deep.
So
So
deep.
deep. Alex, you want me to go or you good?
I can go.
Okay.
Uh, some of the things I'm thankful for when I think about, just this pod in general is, it's been amazing to be able to come together, the three of us, just be able to talk about it all. I think, one of the things is that even with Twitter, even no matter the amount of followers you have, still feels kind of like you're talking to a void, and like you're just like projecting. You're like, whoa, and people are like, yeah, you're psycho, and you're like, yeah, probably am. But it is what it is. Coming here and just being able to discuss things and like debate things, I love that. To be like, am I off my rocker? And then like you or Matt will be like, yeah, you're off your fucking rocker. And I'm like, okay, cool. Or we agree on things. And I think it's so cool for me. Like I'm always up for something like that. So that's something that I do appreciate with this.
Hmm.
The other thing is just quite frankly is I've always wanted to do a podcast. So the fact that like this is something that we've been able to do and that we've been able to do regularly for 2 seasons is something that I never expected.
The weeks really fly by,
It
yeah.
really does, even in the depressing states. But
Even
yeah,
when we were remote recording through the summer and not actually talking, it still gave us something to talk about.
yeah, it makes me laugh thinking about that.
Their illusion shattered during the
Yeah.
summer recordings. We were
I was
never
in
in the same Zoom
Austria. I
room.
was in Austria for some of those.
Oh my God, yeah. I just remember like doing that and then Matt basically messaging me being like, yo, your audio sucks. Figure it out. I'm like, okay, I'll figure it out. But yeah, in terms of like how do we get through this darkness? Matt kind of said it perfectly. Eventually this team is going to succeed. It is a long and winding road. Being a sports fan, anyone can agree with that, unless you're like a Dodger fan who just has like the best players on the planet Earth in baseball. But realistically, we've all gone through these ruts, and sports is something that brings you together as fans. Uh, but it's also a way that you can distract you from the world around you. And when the world's going to shit or you're stressed out, sports is that nice place that you can go. You can sit down, you can put your feet up and just watch your team play. Regardless if they're good or not, it's a way that you can just disconnect for a little bit of time. So, have the Kraken been good over the last 3 years? Absolutely not. But has it been nice to be able to put my feet up, watch this team, and scream into a void because they are bad? But at the end of the day, it's putting a distraction onto other things that that could be stressing you out. Absolutely. So it's definitely positives in my mind is how I look at that. But then also, being able to interact with each other, whether that be, people that listen to the pod that are like, hey, I love what you said about this or that, or, I think you're an absolute moron, and being like, okay, cool. Like, hit me up with this. Like, I'd love to hear more opinions on what you have. Like, I've definitely have had those moments where people have messaged me and been like, you're an idiot. I'm like, okay, why? And they kind of like, provide their side of things. And I'm like, yeah,
Engagement, baby.
engagement.
Engagement.
So, and I love that.
You're
I
still
love
giving me
the
attention.
I know. Open discussion, you want to retweet my tweet, then go right ahead. But yeah, honestly, that's what gets me through the darkness is that, as much as, your sports team could not be the best, it's a nice distraction and, can definitely help through those moments in life that are much more difficult than, you might not be able to handle. And,
Yeah.
it's a good way to kind of get through things.
Dude, the world sucks right now.
Oh.
Having a shitty hockey team isn't the biggest deal.
No, right? Like,
For
I'm
real,
okay
put in
watching
perspective.
I'm okay with the Winnipeg Jets just beating the tar out of my team because at the end of the day, there are far worse things going on in this world. And if I get to still witness, a Jordan Eberle and, a Jared McCann goal, then I'll take it.
Yeah, there's only going to be so many,
Exactly.
maybe like two per year. No, I'm just kidding. For me, I'd say that doing this podcast with you all and also Heather has been my favorite way to keep up with the team. I love the way that we're able to come on here, like Alex said, and just have a laugh or two at Matt's insights on the way ties are tied, or whether discussing whether we should strap all of our boomer at 32 plus year old players onto Artemis 2. And comments following the collapse this week have really kind of highlighted for me that I don't want like my own personal fandom of any team, but especially the Kraken, to be like an exhausting or negative experience. So that's just kind of what I've been locking in on. I know I feel like I've brought this up before. I think it was actually shortly after the Will Borgen trade. It's just when things
when
get
you got
really
crucified online.
yes, when I got crucified online following the Will Borgen trade, when I was
Nice,
like,
nice Easter
hey,
connection.
Yeah,
exactly. Um, but yeah, so when things get heated about the Kraken, I'm like, dude, I'm not about this exhaustion and negativity for fandom of my favorite hockey team and stuff. And then yeah, so that would be my like advice of getting by is just like literally don't let it exhaust you or be a negative experience. If it is, just like take a step back and think about how it's just a hockey team, you have no control over it. And really, I would say, yeah, to just enjoy all of the moments, because even during the first year of the Kraken's existence, when it was the brand new expansion team and we had so many players that were just god awful, Nathan Bastion's performance comes to mind.
Who?
Nathan Bastion, who,
Who?
um, the way Grubauer was playing that year, just like insane. But I remember watching those games, just being like, I'm gonna like soak this up because like these players will not be playing for this. Like a lot of these players won't be playing for this team in like 5 years. That's what I was thinking at the time of the first season. And now, yeah, Morgan Geeky's gone, Ryan Donato's got like all these staples from the first year, and it's kind of sad in a sense because I don't know, it's just another reminder of time moving. But yeah, I'd say just soak it all up. Each goal, there's no one in hockey that doesn't appreciate a good goal. Okay, I even appreciate goals that other teams score that are cool. So just soak it up. Don't take it too seriously. Yeah, but I think we're good to move on to the last bit that I wanted to cover here. So yeah, I just wanted to make an address to the community at large. There's been a lot of stuff that's been said. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's been said, so I figured we could go through some of it and just make people feel a little heard, a little bit seen, and share our thoughts on what's been said out there. Um, so Alex, I think you had some posts in a reply to a post you made on your X account. Do you want to provide some of those and what your thoughts are on them? And we can kind of just go around. And I also have some others that I can bring up.
Yeah, for sure. So this was actually last game, where I ended up. I kind of went. It was kind of like midnight, and I woke up because I actually like fell asleep in the first period, ironically enough. But like when I woke up, I was like, "Wow, we are bad." And I kind of got into like a tweeting rant. Ironically enough, and I think one of the things I always want to preface is that like people are like, "Man, you just seem like the most miserable person in the world." Meanwhile, when I'm tweeting, I'm laughing. Like I have this big stupid grin on my face.
So
I'm
it's just your
laughing.
version of making jokes. It's just like
Exactly. Like I think the biggest issue for me is that
being super
I'm
depressed.
so sarcastic and it doesn't read off well on Twitter, but it also sounds like I'm an asshole, which okay, well we can discuss that at a later date, in a session.
Hmm,
You
sure.
can you can pay. But so like one of the tweets I came out with was air your frustrations and grievances about the Seattle Kraken below. I said, let me know exactly how you feel. I'd love to hear them prior to our next recording of this pod. You know, and I got a lot. I got a ton. Um, so if I have to go through some of them, one of them was at I'm Nick Raz. So he said, sneaking into the playoffs in year two set us back 5 years. The team was never good enough, and yet they think keeping all these middle six quote unquote bums was the recipe for success when it was luck. We got to strip this thing down to the foundation and find a player good enough to carry a line.
Sounds like we found ourselves an at Kraken Canada fan.
Another one was at XTRMLN. It's simple. Kraken just don't have enough talent. If you discount McMahon, who we got in a trade, is our top scorer. Our top scorer is Eberle at 72nd in the league, and Eberle again and Ebbs at 102nd in the league for points. Dismal production. Our top line is line 2 or 3 on any other playoff bound team in the NHL. Some of them, I got a lot of fire Lane, fire Ron Francis, fire J Bots. I did get a fire them all into the sun. A lot
Okay,
of...
wait, that's just a direct. Was that like your alt account? Don't you say that? Don't
No,
you sometimes say
not
that
at
word
all.
for word on the pod?
No,
Sometimes.
apparently a lot of people agree with me, but a lot of I think the main thing that I got from a lot of these messages or these tweets or these replies was that this team doesn't have an identity. The second year that we made the playoffs in our franchise did set us back. And I think that's where a lot of people have agreed with that, being like, we got in on a fluke, on a technicality. And with that, ownership and management really ran with that. And because of that, it's put us back. And now we're in a position where we don't have those star players that we really want or that we need. We do have a lot of middle six guys. And because of that, a lot of fans are frustrated. There's a lot of fans that I've spoken to over the course of the year that have been season ticket holders that are saying, I'm not paying the money to do this again. This team's just not good enough. It's not worth my time. It's not worth my hard-earned money. Other fans are saying, I'm going to keep my tickets, not because I believe in this team, but because if I give them up, I'm never going to get them back. But I think the resounding feeling that I've gotten from a lot of discussions, not just through the replies of that tweet, but just throughout the entire season, is that they want changes to happen, because especially with possibility of, with not only with the Seahawks, but with the Mariners, and then possibility with basketball coming back to Seattle, it seems like a lot of concern that the Kraken are going to take last place, because there's a lot of other teams that are going to be successful or are successful, and the Kraken are just going to be put on the wayside. So that's where I've kind of, gathered all this information and just read these replies. And there's a lot of concern that, we're going to be cast aside and be like second tier sports team, which is going to be a negative for a lot of hockey players that want to play in Seattle.
Gotcha. Interesting argument. For season ticket holders, it makes sense, right? Those things are crazy expensive, and you're not necessarily wanting to risk going through another slog of like what these last 3 years have been. What about you, Matt? Anything that you picked up on that Alex just read, or anything from any form of media that you want to share as well?
No one replies to my tweets ever. So
wow, I know they do on the Beneath the Waves account.
They do. I'll open that.
No, you're good. You're good. I have some that I can read if you want.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, perfect. And you don't have any thoughts about the tweets, the stuff Alex was talking about?
No, just I love people voicing their
hell yeah, me too.
Even if it's displeasures.
Yeah.
But like, if you're upset, that means you care about it.
Hell yeah.
So
hell yeah, baby.
Keep caring.
Hell yeah, keep caring. Don't keep caring, keep carrying. Okay, never mind. Anyway, here's some of the ones that I gathered. When discussing media outlets and podcasts, like the one we're on right now, such as the one we're on right now, Aria at 5 each for fighting says, I'm also glad all these podcasts and media outlets are the foremost experts on hockey and team management. They should just do it themselves. To which Anna at Oh My Maple Kraken said, I would actually love to see that for 2 weeks before witnessing their huge meltdown, because things aren't that easy. And then at CKC Witch, Seattle Kraken Sea Witch, also chimed in saying, quote, it's exhausting with all the negativity around at the moment. Granted, these are just 3 fans, But this is kind of how I'm feeling. And I I actually really appreciate the sentiment. I feel like this whole argument of dismantle it, destroy everything makes the problem out to be a lot more simple than it actually is because it's nice and tidy for all of these other, other people who are discussing the crack. I'm not going to name any names or anything. There are no like specific podcasts or media outlets that I'm coming at right now, but I'm just saying in general, it makes for a nicer and tidier way to analyze things when you're just like, oh, everything's sorry, my cat knocked over a piece of paper. But anyway, this is the best thing ever, or we need to do everything, or we need to do nothing. And it's just like, yeah, I don't know. It's exhausting when I'll tell you what's exhausting. Here's what's exhausting, okay? When people find the negative in everything. That's what's exhausting. When no matter what it is, you're finding the negative aspect of it. That is what causes fans to become exhausted, I think. And I'm going to speak up for those fans right now. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. But what? Oh, I also had one more. Um, at Let the Sun Talk said, I personally would lose faith in the organization if they traded like 8 guys in the offseason. What do you mean you don't want to at least try and refit or reorganize around the current roster? And I kind of agree with that. Like all these guys are lovable losers, right? Like they're the guys that we have developed these weird parasocial connections with, and they're all trying their hardest. We all agree that it's not like on the players' backs, it's on like the management who are controlling them like pawns and stuff, right? Like that's where the blame lies. I think like a massive issue with the people who go on social media to talk about this team is that they think that like I said this to Matt earlier in the week, they think we'll have like another expansion draft next year or something. But like, no, that's not how it works. In fact, like if we dismantled everything and sold everyone right now, we'd be selling like our entire core at like their career low value. So we'd get like 70% of the value of our team. Sometimes in hockey, players just don't click the right way with line mates. They're like a half step off of each other or something. It doesn't mean that each of them are not trying or that it's like an effort problem. It can be very, very minor things. There are literally thousands of factors that go into each of these games. And I think it's very like, it's dishonest, it's lazy, and it's just negative to sum all that up into just saying like, oh, this group of guys that are playing hockey professionally, just they don't care, they aren't trying. What do you think, Matt?
Um, I think it's a lesson in how social media works, where negative opinions get engagement because it causes a discussion. You're not gonna, yeah, check Alex's notes on how he built his Twitter account. But you're not gonna have as I don't think. Like, I mean, by all means, if this wants to start happening, you're not going to have as much back and forth when saying things are awesome or having a happy chat, unless it's 800 people replying to the post of this uh, episode saying, "Fuck yeah, this team's awesome. We love you guys. Thumbs up, prayer hands, um, squid emoji." Please, at least one person reply to my episode post. But like, I want to state that, you mentioned media outlets and all this kind of stuff being negative or tending to lean towards the negative. We are a fan cast. We are not a media cast. We don't go in the locker rooms. We don't, go to open practices. We don't follow the team around. We're not going to pressers after games. We are just three dudes in a Zoom room with webcams and microphones from Staples. And that's all you need to start a podcast. But we are not a media outlet. We are not going to shit on media outlets who are out there doing the boots on the ground grunt work. If you're a media outlet person and you want to have a little like postseason collab, open DMs, slide on in. Let's make something cool happen. We want to be
Absolutely.
friends with people in the space. We've done like a couple times. The Kraken Pod fellas have come on. Mike comes on. Sasquatch comes on. Uh, it's we. I'm saying on my behalf. I'm going to say for you too. Like we are not actively going torches and pitchforks after media people who are saying things. We are going to observe people in the replies being negative and saying this team should do this team should do that. I think if you want to have awesome direct impact on a team, go to your local GameStop, grab EA Sports NHL 26, boot up GM mode, and you can puppet master all the trades you want. You can trade Riker Evans for Connor McDavid and stack your teams like I did back when I was playing NHL 98 on my PC and, you know, go to town there. But I know, like, this is coming like an oddly sentimental pod for us. I feel like we're in like a therapy sesh right now talking
What
about how we
happens when
get,
you miss the playoffs for the third straight year, man?
but
Yep.
like, I'm just gonna say, like, don't fall into the whirlpool that is online back and forth bickering. We don't need to. Oh, here comes our weekly camera stealing from Derek's cat. We're all friends here. We're all suffering the same games together. Go under the episode post for here and say whatever I said before about prayer hands, squids, and go team.
Okay, Alex, anything else or?
I still say like you can have whatever opinion you want. Like at the end of the day, it's not going to bother me.
Yeah.
Like if you don't agree with my the way that I see things, then cool beans. Like you can throw your opinion back at me. I might argue it back, just like Derek. We tend to kind of go back and forth all the time. Matt just
Yeah.
kind of will sit there on the occasion, eat popcorn, and just throw it as fact and silence me pretty quickly. Anaheim record. But at the end of the day, we're
Remember
here.
undiagnosed encyclopedic knowledge of this team?
Exactly, right? But like we're all going to come together, we're going to discuss it, we're going to agree, we're not going to agree on some things, but we're going to talk about it. And that still falls on social media. Like, Matt mentioned it perfectly. I am probably known as one of the more negative Kraken accounts online, and it's sometimes I will definitely say what I'm saying and it will be negative, and yeah, it's totally there because I know how to rage bait half the fan base, and it works. But there's other times that I'll tweet it out and it's just for fun. But there's other times that I'll be like, hey, like this has been great, this has been fantastic. But I love having the conversation, I love to hear the responses, but at the end of the day, like don't make that like your personal vendetta to be like, oh my god, he said this or they said this. Like have positive conversations even in those negative or super super sarcastic tweets that might come off as super negative.
All right, you're
No,
telling people to
do
have
you
positive engagement with you when you literally just said you're rage baiting. Like you just admitted that you want rage. What, Matt? What,
do you
Matt?
know how much joy I got this week when I tweeted out and put on Reddit and places my 7-second video of filming my screen downstairs and Berkeley Catton doing his like
Oh,
someone
that
in the
was so
stands has a
funny.
laser pointer. Like find the little stupid things.
Yeah, does it matter what
Yeah.
our record is at that moment? No, it could have been
No,
the first game of the year or yeah,
you have
Stanley
Berkeley
Cup game
Catton with
7.
his new 5 o'clock shadow look that he's rocking, looking
ESPN.
like
I was gonna
looking
say
19 and a half
ESPN's
instead of
screwing everything up.
19. And he's just like video or audio based meme you can't see,
Yeah,
but
that's
go see
not
the tweet.
gonna.
It's just like find the little
Is
silly things. We do have some injury updates from this last week. Shane Wright missed all of last week's game, including today's game, with an upper body injury. He was getting ragdolled in some of those earlier games in the week, just absolutely getting blasted. Jaden Schwartz, after taking that skate boot to the face, has rejoined the team. That's awesome. He's even scored in the Saturday game, I believe. Ryan Winterton rejoined the team tonight, which is awesome. We love seeing that after the loss that he went through, seeing him back on the team. Jamie Alexiak was scratched tonight. I didn't look to see if that was like an injury related thing or they're just using it as a time to cycle people in. And then, unfortunately, during about midway through the second period, Phil Grubauer left the game in the Jets game with a lower body injury. So we'll still have to wait and see what'll come from that. But maybe that means we finally get a little Matt Murray time after his hot start and then sitting on the bench for 60 games. Speaking
yeah.
of goalies, how about
Oh,
that segue?
look at that.
Derek, how did the goalie updates go this week? We know not great, but crunch some numbers.
They're not great. They're not great. I'll try to get through this kind of quickly. First, Grubauer played against Edmonton. He had 2 expected goals against, and he had 2 actual goals against. Then Joey Decord played against Utah at home. He had 4.6 expected goals. Oh, sorry, for Gru. Uh, we'll just do some editing. Matt will do some editing magic there. Hopefully. Gru stopped 21 of 23 shots. He had a 913 save percentage. Then Joey Decord played against Utah at home. He had 4.6 expected goals against. He allowed 6 of those. And he stopped 25 of 31 shots with an 806 save percentage. Drew then played against Chicago. He had an expected goals of 2.9 and an actual goals against of 3, so pretty good. He stopped 27 to 30 shots. He had a perfect 900 save percentage, so Alex is happy. And then they decided to start Drew again today against Winnipeg. He played the first about 35 minutes until he left the game with injury. In those 35 minutes, he had 2.3 expected goals against. He allowed 3. He stopped 15 of 18 shots with an 833 save percentage. And then Joey Decord came in for the second half, and I don't fault him here because he's not planning on playing. He's coming in cold. But he had 0.74 expected goals against. He allowed 3, stopped 10 of 13 shots with a 769 save percentage. This kind of goes to Joey's season. Like we can now say Joey had like a pretty mediocre season especially compared to his years past. Grubauer had a stellar season. Sucks to see him injured. He's not a UFA this year. He's UFA next year, right? Okay.
Yeah, he's got.
I was gonna say if he's a UFA this year, that could be like goodbye if he's hurt. But yeah, probably will be next year. Alex, Matt, any thoughts on the goalies?
Gotcha. Seeing 2 games of 900 and above from Gru is always something to be psyched about. So
yeah. Was Philip Grubauer? Did he have any milestones this week or?
He did, as a matter of fact. Look at you teeing up some
that was
segues
so weak.
there as well.
That was so weak.
Philip Grubauer did in fact play in his 400th NHL game on Tuesday against the Oilers. Unfortunately, it was not a great game for him, but it was still an exciting game. We did have, when the Kraken finally returned back to CPA, we had Adam Larson's Silver Stick ceremony for his, I guess then it would have been his 1003rd NHL game. In off-ice milestone, we want to give a congrats to Brandon Montour for welcoming baby number 3 to his family on April the 3rd. And in an interesting roster milestone, in today's game against the Jets, because we're wanting to shake things up and get crazy, Vince Dunn and Adam Larson didn't start together for the first time since March 19th, 2022. That is excluding any injuries. So just shaking up the Kraken landscape with that.
It's giving Dave Hextall when he knew his job was gone and he just started like spamming the most random forward line combinations.
Just drawing names out of a hat.
I definitely feel like there's a little bit of pressure on Lambert there, where Lambert's just trying things at this point. So that's just one thing. Definitely weird not seeing Vince Dunn and Adam Larson on the ice together. So that's, hopefully maybe that's something that I need to work on, but yeah, it'll be interesting. But else what's on ice? Shovels. No, I'm kidding. Terrible.
Oh, there we go. I love it. No, you know what else is on ice? I was shoveling it up. At the game against Chicago. We only had 9 out of our 11 people that we were supposed to have. Were you wondering why it said 9/11?
I didn't know what the note of 9/11 was.
Anyway, so we only had 9 out of our 11 skaters for the ice. So, that's probably among the lowest we've ever had. So it was pretty tough. I was responsible for like the entire, basically like defensive zone or like whatever, but an entire zone basically. And then the other note was like was like the second person up and down the board. So I was like, you have to tell the players to get out of your way and stuff. And I did look up at one point and like Connor Bedard was just standing like right in front of me. And I was just like, no way. Like that is so sick. Like he's like, I don't know. He's just such a hype dude to see. Just like, yeah, absolutely tearing it up. But
yeah, I have a question for you on that.
What's up?
In your skating times, in what moments or instances have you been like starstruck?
The first thing that pops into my head is for the first like 100 home games in Kraken history, I was like the first person on the boards like every single game. So I would skate like through both player benches every single game. The one that sticks out the most is you're looking down as you go, and obviously I'm like 21 when I started doing this. I'm like starstruck by all these guys. So I'm not even looking up at all, but I'm looking down and I see Ovechkin's yellow laces. He's sitting on the boards and his legs are dangling, and I see his yellow laces, and just seeing those yellow laces, I was like, "Oh my God, that is I am like a foot away from Alex Ovechkin as I'm going by right now. Like my shovel's underneath his skates, right? Like that was insane." But anytime there's like a big star player, or even the Kraken players, like I'll do like tight turns around Ben Myers sometimes because Ben Myers will just like go out and he skates hella. Like he skates the most out of any player during the media timeouts. He's just constantly ripping circles. And I'm like, dude, I need to shovel this area. What are you doing? And so I'll be weaving and like tight turning around Ben Myers, and I'll do it against away players. I'll just like tight turn around. I mean, that's pretty fun. Um, but yeah, definitely Ovechkin, Crosby, McDavid, McKinnon, McCarr, like all those guys sharing ice with them. It's just insane.
Whoever that guy is that picked up his Zin can that was thrown on the ice, and
Oh yeah, yeah, the guy on that team, and then grabbing the hat from Capo Caco, that was sick. And then the game, I mean, it was a 4-2 loss to Chicago Blackhawks. It was like a whole lot of mid, so nothing really notable about the game. In all honesty, it was a blur. But yeah, that gets us to maybe a team that is more pleasant to cover. Alex, how are the Coachella Valley Firebirds doing?
jumping
Well, we
ahead. But
skipped a whole week ahead.
Derek's already checked out of the season. He wants
Yeah,
to.
wow.
Shit!
So,
Oh shit!
so yeah, we're
I
gonna
saw
talk about the
red and
week
I was like,
ahead.
Firebirds.
So yeah, look at that. Getting excited for playoff hockey there. But before we even start talking about that, we're gonna talk about the week ahead. So the Kraken technically have 4 games to play this week. They've already played one this week and they lost handedly to the Winnipeg Jets. So they do have 3 games remaining. So Tuesday they do play the Wild. And Thursday against Vegas and Saturday against Calgary. Now, the Torrent have 2 games this week. They play Tuesday against the Victoire and Wednesday against the Charge. I don't know about you, but I'm thinking an 0 for 3 for the Kraken. I don't think they're going to beat the Wild. Don't think they're going to beat Vegas. And I just hope that they lose to Calgary. For the Torrent, God, I hope they beat one of the 2 teams. Gonna probably think of the Charge opposed to the Victoire, but I guess we'll find out. But yeah, I'm hoping an 0 for 3 and a 1-1 moving forward this week. What about you guys?
Think we lose Wild, lose VGK, and then we will win against the Flames, unfortunately. With the Torrent, Montreal's currently first place, I believe, so they could handle us. It doesn't really affect anything on their end because they clinched their playoff spot. Um, the one against Ottawa, that has some bearing on Ottawa's playoff position. So hopefully, with a loss, if we lose to the Victoire, we activate Gold Plan and then we just go on a run.
Yeah.
I don't care what happens until we're in Gold Plan, and then it's just W's all out going forward. Welcome to the Torrent, Carolyn Harvey.
Matt, did you say the Victoire could handle the Torrent? Is there a team in the PWHL that can't handle the Torrent? Or
I mean, they took Sirens to
hey,
a
to
shootout in the world's
Yep.
most famous arena. So
No, I joke, but it's sad. I hope the Torrent do better. I'm completely with you on the Torrent. I hope we lose. I hope they lose to the Victoire and then win against the Charge. And then every other team, assuming the gold plan kicks in.
yeah,
The Wild we're definitely losing. Vegas, hopefully, and hopefully not in overtime. Hopefully it's just clean. And then the Flames, I feel like we'll get at least a point out of that. I feel like we'll at least go to overtime, maybe like 1-1 overtime or something. I could see that with the Flames because they're bad, we're bad.
We've only been scoring 2 goals a game, like at most a game though. So like,
Or 0, yeah.
yeah,
or 0.
or 0.
Yeah. But yeah, now how are the Coachella Valley Firebirds doing, bro?
Well, guess what? We got playoff hockey
Let's go.
incoming for
Let's
the
go.
AHL team that is the Coachella Valley Firebirds. So the Firebirds officially sit third in the Pacific Division with a record of 39 wins, 22 losses, and 5 overtime losses. They have 83 points on the year, and like I said before, they've officially clinched a playoff berth. So we are going to see playoff hockey in Coachella, not Seattle, but Coachella. They have 3 games on the docket this week. First off, they play the Silver Knights on Wednesday at home. Then they have a home and away against the Ontario Reign on Friday and Saturday. I just want to highlight Yanni Newman. He continues to dominate the AHL. He's got 21 goals and 12 assists for 33 points in 35 games. He has been lights out. So that's one player to watch out for when the Firebirds go to the playoffs. You know, if there's one consistent team that is part of this organization, it is the Firebirds. And I will also mention that the Maverick, the Seattle's ECHL affiliate, continues to make the playoffs as well. So it seems like it's a Kraken problem when you look at the issues here. If you want to watch playoff hockey, guess what? You can do so. Coachella Valley, it's going to be fun. They're always fun when they play in the Calder playoffs. So that's something to definitely keep an eye on or watch, or, you know, moving forward. It's a lot of fun to witness at this time of the year. So yeah, some exciting times with the AHL team.
Awesome. Well, to close things out here, I wanted to get a quick plug in before our usual self promo if things are going on. Tomorrow is Green Shirt Day. If you are unfamiliar with what Green Shirt Day is, I am wearing this year's green shirt right here. I'm going to do a quick blurb from the Green Shirt Day website on April 6, 2018. So that is 8 years today as they were recording. Canadians were heartbroken to hear the news of the Humboldt Broncos bus crash. Of the 29 passengers, 16 lost their lives and 13 will all bear physical and emotional scars for life. On April 7th, so that'll be tomorrow's date, the Humboldt Broncos defenseman Logan Boulet succumbed to his injuries. His parents, Bernadine and Toby Boulet, offered to donate his organs so that 6 lives could live on. They did so because Logan told his parents he is registering as an organ donor and that he was inspired by his coach and mentor, Rick Suggett. Rick passed on June 27, 2017, and was also an organ donor and saved 6 lives. So this is a cause to me that is very, very important to my household. My wife is currently on the list waiting for a kidney, and we're about to have some big changes going on in our lives coming up here very soon. It's going to be a big change. So I am very much all in on Green Shirt Day. I'm going to link in the notes where you can find out more information about it. Your body, choose to do what you want with it, but I'm always going to encourage people to put the little organ donor sticker on your license or your card or whatever your jurisdiction does to indicate that, because being an organ donor can save up to 8 lives, giving what you might be able to give. So big promo for that. Again, is Green Shirt Day. Go to greenshirtday.ca. Check the link out in the notes, the bio, the description, if you want to find out more about that. Derek, off of that, do you want to let people know where they can find more BTW online?
Absolutely. Go over to bit.ly/BTW store. The Philip Grubauer design is currently up. It's not a dentist thing. It's an eye test thing. And it's dope. It has the GRUUUUUUUU laid out in like a pyramid form for like an eye test chart. Also, go over and check out Heather's articles. The link will be in the show notes as usual. Follow at Heather Nicole with no E and at the Hockey News W to see more of her work. And keep your eyes on your podcast feed to see when she drops more PWHL episodes. Please drop a follow and a 5-star review on the podcast app of your choice. And follow us on all socials. It helps us out a whole lot if you could take a second to like or comment on those videos. And as I said in the beginning, there likely won't be any playoffs, but that is okay. As Meta said, it's about the friends we make along the way. Go follow us over at BTWSCA. We're almost at 900 followers on Twitter. Bye!
We going beneath